Female inmates, how do you think your prison experience was different from what you have heard about male prisoners' experiences? I spent 9 months inside a women's county jail. Never went to prison. The women constantly walked around and talked to each other. I heard co's and volunteers that this never happens in the men's units. There are no men walking the yard laps, chit-chatting. They sit. They gamble commissary over card games. That's it. Most of the commissary they get they don't even eat. Just gamble with it. In the women's unit, we also made each of the jailhouse birthday cakes and cards and passed it around for everyone to sign. I heard this doesn't happen in the men's unit. Makes sense. Okay, as apparently the only actual female prison inmate on Reddit, it is much different than male prison. I was in prison for 2.5 months last year. My ex was in prison for 16 months. In women's prison, while there is still violence, there's less violence, and it's usually over girlfriends. Men's prison has major race gang activity, women's prison really doesn't. If anyone acts in a racist way, they are getting the shit knocked out of them. Rapists and child abusers get the F knocked out of them in both male and female prisons. Absolutely nobody tolerates that shit. There's a lot more gay for the state type shit going on in women's prison, but for the women who are fully straight and not interested, that's mostly respected. Yeah, you'll still have some disrespectful hoes acting like men, hitting on you, and trying to convince you to give them a chance, but as long as you're firm about your boundaries, and not being interested, they'll back off. Women are just as catty in prison as they are outside of it, but it's a little worse, because almost everyone that's in prison has had some kind of trauma/abuse in their past that affects their mental health, and makes them act in ridiculous ways, which is how they ended up in prison in the first place. There are a lot of trans men and women in there, and I don't really know how it differs from men's prison. I didn't ask the ex if there were any trans women there, but at least in women's prison they didn't keep us separate and everyone was completely cool with it. Nobody got harassed. Honestly, it was really chill. You just have to be respectful of other people and their property, but also not trust anyone, and keep your shit locked up, because you're in prison. Edited to I've already directly thanked the kind anonymous people who gifted golden dudes, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who has responded and been so incredibly kind and not horribly judgmental. I almost deleted my comment immediately after submitting it, but I'm so glad I didn't. I've appreciated the questions from people just trying to learn more and understand better. I'm grateful to my fellow ex-cons who have given me hope. My heart goes out to anyone who has been in the system, or had loved ones who have. I appreciate the co's in here who treat the inmates like human beings. I guess the main thing I want to say is, our judicial system, USA, is very flawed, and needs some work. I don't want to get political, because I hate politics, but what I will say, is the system needs reform. I don't know exactly how, I don't know what's possible, but it's effed up as is and needs a reboot. I effed up, and accepted responsibility for my actions, but there are so many people in prison, who just need better mental health care. There are just a lot of traumatized, hurting people out there making dumb mistakes when all they need, is a little help. Just try and have a little empathy and compassion for your fellow idiots. I, too, have spent time in prison. I have been out now for 10 years, but I was in for 32 months. Female prisoners set up family units. There will be a husband/dad, wife/mom, and children, etc. These family units, in my experience, are mostly platonic, but at times, are centered around a pseudo relationship. There are a lot of gay for the stay women, but I would imagine that is the same with the men. With women, you don't typically see the gang violence, racial divides or violence against those in for sex crimes, unless that woman is a predator type offender. What you do see is prejudice against those who kill, abuse or abandon their own children. The women serving time for those crimes generally need protective custody. In my opinion, women can be petty, mean, prone to drama, and just in general difficult to get along with. Put 80 or so women in one open style dorm setting, and the bullying and constant drama will ensue. I have never been so thankful for silence as I was the day I finally got home. I live in the US, so I would be curious to know if any other country has different experiences. I think so. The prison I was in was men on one side and women on the other, so the van ride from court was shared, and a couple of the lads gave me a few warnings that women were worse, and they felt bad for me. That really made me feel confident going in. On the whole, where I was, most of the women were in for drug charges, mainly addicts themselves. I was in for financial stuff, so I kept out of most of it. There was a lot of sex, a lot of self-harm, and I mean a scarily ridiculous amount. Pretty much consistent backgrounds of poverty/abuse. Most were fine, some just horrifically scary. We had one nonce come in, and she was not treated well. The worst thing was one of them grassing a couple of the others up. She was injured both externally and internally with a chair leg. That was rough shit. I then got shipped out to a foreign nationals prison, where 80% are waiting to be deported to their home countries. They kept 20% nationals to basically run the place. That was different. Either woman used as drug mules by their pimps/dealers or full-blown gangsters, not much in between except for a Muslim lady called Latifa who shared her dates with me that she had for Ramadan. Great, you made it to the end. Now smash that like button and subscribe for even more videos like this one.